Duncan, what made you want to make this movie?
I've been a fan of Warcraft for a long time. They've been making these games for a while, and I was playing right from the very start. So, you know, my first two films were science fiction, but this was a fantasy film, and I loved the idea of having the opportunity to make a fantasy movie. So when this opportunity came up, I couldn't turn it down.
Dark forces are upon us.
Our world is on the edge of war. It's death to all things.
Yeah, and you mentioned sci-fi too. What is the appeal to you of sci-fi and fantasy?
The fact that with science fiction and fantasy, you know, you can bring the audiences along, you can kind of lure them along into hearing stories they might not normally want to listen to, but because there's something a little bit different, a little bit alien from their own experience, they're kind of more open-minded in some ways. And then when they kind of realize, oh my God, this is kind of similar to this thing in the real world, it's kind of a, you know, it's a nice way to reach people who might not be willing to open their minds in other ways.
So what are some of the challenges of translating a video game or a computer game into a movie?
Well, the track record of video games to movies hasn't been great in the past. But for me, I've seen that as an opportunity, as a challenge. You know, I would love to be the person who breaks the curse of video game movies. I think I have. I think what we've done is really pretty unique, and I think on the scale of something like Lord of the Rings, but it's got its own voice. So I think it's a big fantasy film.
Can we trust him?
They're beasts. They should all be destroyed.
Are you sure about that? And we side with the humans against our own kind.
This is suicide.
You're not scared? I would stay with you.
Why was it important for you to show both sides of this conflict and not just have it be a good old-fashioned Lord of the Rings, good versus evil?
Because I don't want to do good old-fashioned movies. I want to find a way to kind of open up what is expected in the genre. And if you look at science fiction, there's all sorts of different kinds of science fiction these days. There's, you know, clean-cut things like 2001, or Minority Report, or, you know, iRobot, or and then there's much more gritty things like Blade Runner. But the spectrum of fantasy films is much smaller, and Peter Jackson kind of set the bar with Lord of the Rings, but there aren't that many other kinds of fantasy films. Everything kind of feels like his. And I wanted to create something that opened up that spectrum and made something that was a little bit more hyper-real and a bit more, you know, just a bit more comic book.
Do you want to set a new bar for fantasy films?
I don't know. Peter Jackson set a pretty high bar, but if I can meet that level in my own unique way, then I would be very happy.